The Industrial Revolution was originally about steam, but the reality is that the real industrialization happened just over a century ago with the invention of the AC induction motor. AC motors have been the key to everything, and control of AC motors took another step forward in technology with the invention of the variable frequency drive. I spoke with Julius, he's Industrial Channel Manager with Yaskawa America, about innovations in VFDs. Josh, 30 years ago, if you wanted a variable frequency drive, you ordered something for a specific application, generally a high horsepower motor, essentially, and these things were generic devices used for every industry. So if I was in packaging, or I was in the automotive industry, or aerospace, basically, it was just a VFD for my motor, and that's all I knew, and I picked the phone up and I called someone like you. It's a little more complex than that now, isn't it?
Complex is a good word to use. I would say that it's been streamlined through the various applications that you're going to be using your drive for. So like you were saying, back in the day, a drive might take up half of the room because it's so big, but now we have so many solutions out there, they can kind of fit the needs of what you are looking for in your application. So for example, we have our GA800 product, and that's our general purpose drive, which really can run the gamut of whatever application you want to throw at it. It can do variable torque loads or constant torque loads, and it ranges up to 1,000 horsepower. So it does kind of cover the breadth of what you might need for your application. Though that might be too many bells and whistles, depending on what it is that you're using it for, right? A simple fan or a pump is not going to need closed loop vector control on it. The monitoring and the ramp profiles are really all you might need out of it, right? So then you would look at something like the FP605, which is specialized for a fan or a pump, a much more simple application. And so we also have something like a more economic solution, doesn't have the readout like the LCD display, but a 5-character LED, very compact, a good OEM solution, and that would be with our micro drive lines. So we have our GA500 and our GA501, which is our newest iteration. We take the GA500 and it has an embedded Ethernet capability too. So any of the network protocols that would be Ethernet based, they come with the dual channel input right into the drive, and you can talk to your PLCs without any ancillary components needed to be purchased or installed after the fact. So it's all really nice. And then we've got some specialized product as well. So our U1000 drive is really the leading technology out there. And it's a different topology than any drive you would find out there in the marketplace. It's made up of 9 bidirectional IGBTs. And so when you look at it, it can be 100% regenerative, depending on your load. And rather than burn that off through a dynamic braking resistor like we would back in the day, it'll actually put that power back on the line. So you're saving energy, you're saving money. It's a big cost savings that people don't necessarily take into consideration. It's also a great low harmonic solution. So when you used to have 12 or 18 pulse drives to bring your total harmonic distortion levels down, the U1000 product is really a fantastic solution that outperforms those old forms of technology. And it's in a very compact solution, 3 wires in, 3 wires out, no additional components like a phase shifting transformer or anything like that. So we really do have a breadth of product to fit whatever need it is that your application is looking for.
You brought up a couple of really interesting concepts technologically there. One is that in ramp profiles, in my experience, you had to be fairly conservative with your ramp profiles up and down because all kinds of secondary effects come. Exactly, and that's a problem where everything from an RF pulse to what do I do with the energy when I want to stop that motor, basically. So you're saying that basically this is like an electric car with regenerative braking. I can take some of that rotational inertia from my machine and I can actually use it to drive some current back into the grid?
Yeah, absolutely. With our U1000 product specifically, it's made to take that input or the output current that's going to your motor and any excess, whether that's because it's in a regenerative load. Think about like a downhill conveyor where your load is working against the direction of the motor. Well, typically you would have to waste that, and now we have a means of putting it back onto the line. So in a theory, you would be able to look at your power meter, and if all was going exactly the way as intended, you would actually see it turning backwards if that was the only product contributing to the grid. So it's a pretty cool product when all is said and done. And it's got a special place in Yaskawa's home because it's a piece of technology that there are no other drives like it out there on the market.
And the braking concept's provocative too, of course, because the big problem with the braking is we did do this thing with the energy. And if you've got a high inertia device, perhaps a lot of RPM or just a lot of rotational inertia, for example, and you need to stop that thing, you can convert that energy into current. What the heck do I do with that current? Do I dump it to ground? Do I convert it into heat? And heat has its own issues, of course, in industry.
Absolutely. And the nice thing, the U1000 can handle 100% duty cycle of the drive's current rating too. So, some loads you might have an impact load where your duty cycle is 50%, where it's working against the load for half of the time it's in operation. Well, our U1000 product can handle 100%. So that means full regeneration during its entire operation. So when you look at a dynamic braking resistor, the other aspect of that is it gets really hot, right? And some places where you might not want that heat to be, like in a cabinet or a place where there's particulate in the air, the U1000 provides a great solution for, because you're no longer worried about burning off that excess heat. It's being saved by being fed back into your utility. So it's awesome all around.
Now, we always think of VFDs as a general purpose, generic kind of industrial motion solution. We think of a wide range of industries: chemical process industries, automotive, aerospace, pharma, packaging, food processing, you name it. Those industries have very, very different needs, and most importantly, very, very different environments. If you work in pharma, or you're running conveyors in a bakery at some point, someone's going to come in there with a pressure washer.
Right, no doubt. And you do have to take that into consideration as well. So what we may have for something where you need a washdown drive, we have a NEMA 4X product, so you can spray the drive down. Don't open the enclosure and spray it down, as some people might have made the mistake in the past. But it will get you through, so you can wash your equipment down, whether that's in a food and beverage application or that's in a poultry industry, a processing plant, where you need consistent cleaning products that would be very corrosive to your electronics. We also have things, we also have at our Franklin facility a value-added manufacturing plant where we'll put our standalone drive products into enclosures based on what you need. So, for example, we'll do a UL Type 12 enclosure. So if your drive's going into a dusty environment, think of like a sawmill, right, where there's a lot of that sawdust being kicked up, or some even like carpet plants where there's some corrosive material that's in the air and you want to protect your drive against it. That UL Type 12 will help prevent any ingress into the enclosure. Same thing with a NEMA 3R product. If your drive's going to be outdoors or on a rooftop, we see a ton of this in the oil and gas industry. When your drives are going to be out in the fields, they're going to need protection from the sunlight and all the heat that it's exposed to. And a normal drive's not really made to be out in that environment totally exposed, right? So it's best to put it with the right enclosure for the right application.
Now, you have a very wide variety of horsepower ratings, much more so than many people would expect. You're talking about fractional horsepower drives right up to 1,000 horsepower there. Is it conceivable that you could equip an entire plant or entire operation with a similar platform that operates a similar way, right from a 3/4 horsepower fan motor running a ventilation shaft to a punch press that requires 1,000 horsepower?
Yeah, absolutely. I would caveat that might not be exactly the best fit for what they need, but it is something that we could help kind of fit what the best product choice is going to be. So for example, if you're going to be using a conveyor system, it probably makes more sense to go with a bunch of the micro drives, especially the ones with the integrated communication protocols, because they're all going to be talking to each other. It's much more economic to do so than putting some of the larger GA800s at an equivalent horsepower, because you're kind of effectively paying for things you're not going to be using, right? But ultimately, yes, we would be able to provide that solution. If for some instance you needed to go above 1,000 horsepower, we do have some solutions for that as well, whether that be our medium voltage drive products or some of our high horsepower drive products, which are a little bit more modular in nature. You see that a lot in the mining industry and again in oil and gas. So at the end of the day, we say throw any application our way and we'll help come up with the best solution for your needs.
From a maintenance and performance monitoring perspective, historically, of course, you went down on your hands and knees, with a voltmeter, and you crawled up to the machine essentially, and you checked levels right there. We moved to a world in which many firms advertise, no, we'll blue wire your factory basically, and you'll sit in the comfort of your air-conditioned office. You'll do it all remotely. Reality's been often a mixture of both in there. Tell me about the performance monitoring side of the equation.
Yeah, so all of our drives have monitors built into them. They'll give you updates on things like even the life expectancy of your capacitors or your fans for cooling, and tell you kind of at what point in the life cycle we expect them to be in. And then whenever you're doing any type of replacement, you can reset those monitors, and it's very helpful when you're doing factory maintenance. Another nice feature that all of our GEM products, which is our current generation of drives, has is the ability to program the drive without attaching three-phase power to it, which can come in very handy, especially for maintenance staff who might need to replace drives at the early hours, right? The last thing you want is a drive to go out on you at 3 in the morning and then have to find a new drive replacement, hopefully a Yaskawa drive to replace the one that broke down. But if you can pre-program it while it's in the box without having to put any power to it, it saves a ton of hassle because it's literally plug and play at that point. You can take it out of the box, mount it on your wall, attach your three-phase power to it, and be good to go. The other aspect is now with all of our communication protocols, we have a multi-protocol Ethernet card, so it will have all of your Ethernet-based capabilities that you can choose through a dip switch setting. So you can have a drive with Ethernet IP or EtherCAT or Profinet, depending on what your dip switch settings are, but it's all in a single card, which has been very revolutionary. It's great for our channel to stock because now they only need one product, and the chances for our customer are it's going to be on the shelf for them, right? So the nice thing about that is now you have interconnectivity with your drive through a PLC where you can look at all those monitors from the comfort of, a cooled facility. In some cases, we've even seen plant maintenance staff work from home and monitor their equipment from home over some network protocol, and then they just have to come in if there's any problem that's to be had. So we're just trying to make everybody's life easier.
Josh, you brought up the fly on the wall always, which is a user might say, well, you know what, we're a Siemens house, or we're an ABB house, basically, and you're coming in here and you're plugging equipment in here, and I need to know what's going to talk with everything else.
Yeah, and that's always been kind of Yaskawa's stance on that perspective, is you can buy all of the other components like a PLC or like any type of switch gear from another manufacturer. But we would just suggest you buy the best drive you can, and we'll make it work with the other components in your system. So when we're working with an Allen Bradley PLC or a Siemens PLC, we've tried to make it so the barrier to entry is as easy as possible, easy connectivity between devices, even do things like have add-on instructions or tag generators, so you can use nomenclature you're familiar with or your own custom nomenclature for your own PLC readouts on your desktop or laptop or what have you. So it is very important for us to be flexible, and that's something that we always try to take the stance on, is flexibility is the space we want to live in.
And these drives, I understand, are made in America.
That is correct. We make the vast majority of our drives in Buffalo Grove, Illinois. There are some micro drives that are on the smaller side that we still ship over from Japan. And that's because it's an automated manufacturing line. It's actually a sight to behold within itself. Maybe one day it'll be a big stage piece for people who come and tour our facilities to see those drives being made. But yes, as of right now, anything outside of those drives are being manufactured in Buffalo Grove, Illinois. We have our whole assembly plant there, and they make all the drives up to 1,000 horsepower there. Depending on the building you're in particularly, they have a couple of different assembly processes, but I think what you'll take away from any factory tour you go on there is that quality is the name of the game for Yaskawa. We have a lot of line management systems to prevent any type of human error from going on when we're assembling the drives. Smaller drives might be made in more of an assembly line process, and what happens is as you go to the next step in the assembly process, that person's responsible for checking the previous person's work. So we have a lot of redundancy built in to make sure the drives are made and made well. All of our drives are also going to be running a motor before they leave our facility. So we don't do batch testing. Every single drive turns a motor, has a test to show how it performed. I always jokingly say that's the birth certificate for the drive. But we can even test that back if we had a customer that claims that, hey, out of the box this didn't work. Well, when it left our docks, we verified that it did. Let's help you figure out what could have gone wrong and get you up and running in the time that, something went amiss. But that ultimately is our goal, is to make a high quality product, the best in the market. We've won the Deming Prize a couple of times now, so that's actually a third party certifying that we do have a high quality product. You can also see that in our Franklin facility and how we do our value add systems to the drives. We have a lot of redundancies to make sure that everything is a go from the previous station. They are also tested to turn motors there, and then when they're shipped out, the drive, we know that it was able to operate leaving that facility as well. So quality is kind of the mainstay in everything we do. It's how we made our name in the American marketplace, and it's something that we really hang our hat on.
VFDs are a lot more than just motor speed control, says Julius of Yaskawa America.